Hi, we're here at EBA Day TV, and I'm talking with Luke Olbrich of MasterCard. So of course we're going to be talking about consumer payments, and cash is still big in consumer payments, but it's obviously not the future. So what trends are we seeing on online and mobile payments right now?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. If you just look at some of the trends in terms of cash versus card payments, you'd think with all the new technologies, mobile, smartphones, becoming the norm, there's a real risk in Europe of us moving backwards. Physical currency, euro notes and coins, has actually had a CAGR of 19% since the introduction of the euro. Some of the electronic purses that were developed in the late 90s to replace cash are actually being phased out, like the one in Switzerland and Belgium. So there are some almost disturbing developments, as well as, I think, some real opportunities as well. And it's an example where technology sort of lost the consumer and lost the consumer value proposition, I'd argue. If you think about the electronic purses from the late 90s, they were intended to replace cash, but the consumer proposition was, well, if you lost your debit card, you lost the money on the card as well. You had to constantly top it up, go to an ATM. It was slower than cash for a retailer. So we looked at those things and we learned some of the lessons from that in identifying some of the opportunities as e-commerce and smartphones really take off. I saw one study highlighting that over a third of all handsets that were distributed at the end of 2010 were smartphones, and that will just continue to be the case. So you've got individuals really walking around with a computer in their hands, which really creates a seed change. But again, I think the important thing is to balance technology with consumer propositions, to make sure that you balance those two things. And so broadly, I think consumers are ready for mobile, but only about a quarter of them. We do a lot of consumer testing, speaking to consumers, and we can't even get them to use their card. We've still got over half of payments are in cash today, and there are different barriers. It's not, well, the technology doesn't work. There are other barriers for consumers that are stopping them from using cards over cash. Things like the shadow economy, that's just one area, but also convenience, being able to use your card wherever you want to use your card, but also things like low-value payments. Consumers just feel strange still, even if the technology is there, there's no difference in cost for them, they feel strange paying for small value payments as well. So it's about changing the consumer mindset as well as harnessing the technology.
So you talked a little bit about trends that are disturbing and trends that are opportunities. And outside of mobile and online, what are some of the industry initiatives going on right at the moment aimed at replacing cash?
Well, you'll have heard about MasterCard's recent announcement in the United States, our partnership with Google and Citibank to develop the Google Wallet. And really, it's about any device, anytime. So it's being able to access your money wherever you are, with whatever device you want. So if it's a smartphone, if it's at your PC, it's about doing that so that the convenience is there for the consumer, so they know they can always access their money. But it's also about control. One of the things since the economic crisis, 2008, consumers came back to and told us we need control over our funds. We want to manage our money more intelligently. We want to be able to see where are we. There's almost the jam jar effect, where consumers put money into different jam jars every month and say, this is for my rent, this is for my going out time, this is for utilities, food, and so on. They'd like to be able to do that. Many do that with cash, or have in the past. They want to be able to do that.
That's the way my dad managed money.
Exactly. What, in jars? Or?
Yeah, laying it out on the table.
Yeah, well, exactly. But managing your money and being more smart about how you spend. So, for example, being able to see your balance at any time to know, how am I doing? We developed something called In Control, which is a platform which allows consumers to set spending limits in certain categories so that they can manage their money more closely.
I think that lends into my next question. I wanted to talk about sort of consumer protection and fraud.
Yes.
So what do you talk about?
It's interesting. Here in Europe, the Payment Services Directive was brought into member state law just over the last couple of years in 2009. What's interesting, when we asked consumers last year, do you know how much you're liable for if your card is lost or stolen? Do you, for example?
No.
I mean, are you liable for everything? Are you liable for a certain amount? The whole point of the PSD was to harmonize across Europe consumer rights and consumer protection. Consumers have no idea. The great work that our own politicians have been doing to actually harmonize that. It's 150 euros, by the way,
Okay.
is the maximum liability, which should give confidence, because it's one of the reasons consumers don't pay with their card, especially online. For example, in e-commerce, they read about it on the front page, thousands of cards have been compromised. And meanwhile, they're not liable for up to 150 euros. And the industry then is doing things like secure code, 3D secure technology, to secure the e-commerce channel, which has been proven to significantly drop fraud. We need to do a better job at communicating that to consumers as well, just to raise awareness. And then EMV, the chip and pin, has really made a huge difference in face-to-face security as well.
When is it coming to the US?
Well, it's interesting. There are a few banks in the US who have started issuing
Wells Fargo,
EMV.
yeah.
That's right, and Chase as well. And it's interesting. Initially, right now, it's for interoperability. I don't know if you've had this. If you have an American credit card, you'll find that in many cases, the retailer just doesn't even know how to swipe the card anymore. Because they're used to doing the chip and pin, because it's so common now here in Europe. So to ensure interoperability, that the card will work when it comes to Europe, issuers in the United States have started EMV. I think, this is my own personal opinion, but I think EMV will come over time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.